Good afternoon, students. So yesterday we have seen little bit about OSI reference model. Okay. So today we are going to discuss what is OSI reference model and what are all the layers used in OSI model and what are the functions of those layers. Okay. So before discussing about the OSI reference model and all, you should know the concept of layered architecture. Okay. So what do you mean by layer? What do you mean by layer? So in our day-to-day life, we are facing the layered architecture only. So to understand about the layered architecture in a better way, I'll try to give one real-time example to you. For example, if you want to post a letter to your friend who's in some other city, like who's in some other town, okay, so you want to write a letter. So what is the procedure that will be followed by you? What will you do? For example, here you are the sender here. So what will you do? You will write a letter and keep the letter in the envelope and drop your letter in the post box. Am I right? Okay. Then look at the second box. What is the next process? What is the next process? So when you keep your letter in the mailbox, the postman will come to the mailbox. He will collect your letter and hand over your letter to the post office in your city. Okay. So from the post office, all the letters will be delivered to the particular town through train or through some vehicle. Okay. So that is the last step from the sender side. So from the sender, now the letter will reach to the particular city. So from that city, suppose your friend is in Coimbatore. So in Coimbatore, there will be some head post office. So from that post office, the letter will be delivered to the nearby post office of your friend's house. Okay. So then from that post office, it will be delivered to your friend. Then he will open the cover and he will read the message, whatever you have written in your letter. Okay. So this is the procedure followed for communicating through the postal letter. Okay, so some procedures are there. That those procedures are known as the layers. Okay, so the upper layers are called as higher layers, and the middle layers are called as middle layer, and the lower layers are called as lower layer. So in our real time example, this procedure follows three layers: higher layer, middle layer, and lower layer. What is the task of the higher layer? That is, you have written the letter, you have keep it your letter in the cover and hand over the letter to the post box. Okay, then in the middle layer, from the post box, the postman collect the letter and hand over the letter to the post office. Then the lower layer, the post office collect all the letters and transmit your letter to the destination. Then at the destination side, that is at the receiver side, again the process will start from the lower layer to the higher layer. From the sender side, the process starts from the higher layer to the lower layer, but at the receiver side, the process starts from the lower layer to higher layer. This is most important. Keep it in your mind. From the sender, the process starts from the higher layer to the lower. Somebody is talking. Who's that? Please mute on your mic. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? I'm giving the example for the layered architecture. Okay. So that is layer is nothing but the steps which you need to follow for doing the process. See, from tomorrow onwards, if you're trying to join lately, I won't accept your request because it is disturbing the class. So this is the example of the layered architecture. So from the sender side, the process starts from higher layer to lower layer, and from the receiver side, the process starts from lower layer to higher layer. Understand this thoroughly. Okay. The process starts from which layer to which layer in sender side?
Higher to lower.
Higher to lower. Okay, from the receiver, lower to higher.
Lower
Keep it
to
in
higher
your
level.
mind. Okay, keep it in your mind. Okay, so now let us discuss about the OSI reference model. So what is the need of such models? Before discussing about what is OSI reference model, you should know what is the need of these model. So during 1947, International Standard Organization, this is the organization, they have formed certain rules and regulations, that is nothing but the agreement for transmitting the information throughout the network. What is the need of such agreement? Because yesterday itself I told you, the configuration of the system will be varying. The systems what are all connected with the network, the configuration of all the systems will be varying. They are not similar. Okay, so my system configuration will be different, your system configuration will be different. So when I try to transmit the information from my system to your system, your configuration should accept the information what I'm sending. Okay, so for that, ISO organization, they formed certain rules and regulations. Okay, so that rules and regulations should be open. What do you mean by open? It should be common to everyone. Okay, so for that they have developed some model that is called open system interconnection, which is nothing but the OSI model. So keep it in your mind that ISO is the organization, OSI is a network model. Can you differentiate what is ISO and what is OSI? ISO is the organization who are forming the agreement for transmitting the information among various systems which are connected in the internet because of their different architecture or different configuration. Okay, so that model what they have developed, that common model is called as open system interconnection. Are you clear with this? Are you clear with this? What is ISO and what is OSI?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So shall we pass on to the next one? Okay. So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
open system model allows any two different architecture system to communicate irrespective of their underlying architecture. Even though the two systems are having different architecture or different configuration, based upon the ISO, they can try to communicate with each other without any difficulty. That is the usage of OSI reference model. Okay, so what is the purpose? What I'm saying now, the same thing is given here. The purpose of OSI model is to open communication between different systems without any change of their hardware and software. There is no need to do any changes with the hardware and software. Suppose my system uses uh, Core i3 processor, 7th generation processor. Your system uses some other processor. Okay, so because of I am sending the information to your processor, your no need to do any changes with your system, because OSI model will take care of such things. Okay, so ISO is the organization and OSI is the model. So let us discuss about the OSI model now. So open system interconnection model follows the layered framework. So what is layered framework? It follows certain layers, that is certain steps to complete the task. So I have given you one real-time example of posting the letter to your friend. The normal posting of letter itself follows some steps. Okay, so similarly, for communicating among the systems which are in the internet, uh, those systems should follow some layered framework for communicating the data throughout your network. Okay, so the OSI reference model consists of 7 layers. These are the 7 layers. Yesterday itself, I told you: physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. So the physical layer is the lowermost layer, and application layer is the highermost layer. Okay, so topmost layer. So in the normal layered architecture itself, we have seen that in the sender side, the process starts from upper layer to lower layer. Okay, so similarly in computer network also, the sender side system starts the processing from the application layer, then it will transmit the information to its lower layers like presentation, then to the session, then to the transport, then to the network, then to the data link layer, and finally to the physical layer. Okay, then from the receiver side, the information will be transmitted from lower layer to upper layers. That we will see later. So just understand how the informations are transmitted through all the 7 layers at the sender side as well as at the receiver side. Okay, so before discussing about the functionalities of all the 7 layers, you should know certain things. First is what is layered architecture and what is peer-to-peer process. What about interfaces? What do you mean by interfaces between layers and how the layers are organized? These 4 things you need to understand clearly before understanding how the layers are working and how the layers are interconnected together. Okay, so the first thing is layered architecture. So what do you mean by layered architecture? The architecture itself contains several layers. That is called layered architecture. So what is the model we are going to use for network? OSI model. So the OSI model also has certain number of layers. Okay, so how many layers are there in OSI model? How
Seven,
many
ma'am. Seven.
7 layers. Okay, so that is the layered architecture of the OSI model. The OSI model includes 7 layers: physical, data link, network, transport, session, presentation, and application layer. Okay, so look at the diagram. Um you have device A and device B. Okay, so the device A tries to communicate with device B. In between device A and device B, some intermediate nodes are there, some intermediate computers are there. So definitely, if device A wants to communicate with device B, then they need to communicate through some intermediate nodes. As I told you earlier, if the person who's sitting in your class, who's sitting first in your class, wants to communicate with the person who's sitting at the last bench, how he can able to communicate? Between the intermediate persons only he can communicate. Am I right? So similarly, if the device A wants to communicate with device B, in between device A and device B, some intermediate nodes will be there. So through with the help of those intermediate nodes only, device A can communicate with device B. So let us see how they will communicate. So definitely all the devices will be having the 7 layers. Device A will have all the 7 layers. Seventh layer, that is the application layer. Sixth layer, that is the presentation layer. Fifth layer, session layer. Fourth layer, transport layer. Third layer, network layer. Second layer, data link layer. And first layer, physical layer. Okay, so the device A contains all the 7 layers. So from the device A, suppose I am the device A. Okay, I'm going to transmit the message to you. Good morning. This is the message. That is what I want to communicate to you. So the good morning is a term which will reach the 7th layer from the device A first. Understood or not? So the 7th layer, which is nothing but the application layer of device A, receives the message good morning, and it will transmit the message to the 6th layer, which is nothing but the presentation layer. Okay, then from the 6th layer, good morning will be transmitted to the 5th layer, which is nothing but what? Session layer. Okay, so from 5th layer it will be transmitted to 4th transport layer. Then from transport layer it will be transmitted to the network layer, that is the third layer. Then from the third layer to the second layer, which is nothing but the data link layer. Then from the data link layer to the physical layer, the message good morning will reach. Okay, so now the physical layer of device A will be connected with the physical layer of the next node, which is the next node, intermediate node. Okay, so the physical layer of device A and the physical layer of intermediate node will be connected together. Can you see the connection between physical layer of device A and physical layer of intermediate node 1? Are you
Yes,
able to
ma'am.
see the connection? Okay. Then now from the intermediate node, from physical layer, now the intermediate node acts as sender or receiver. Intermediate node acts as sender or receiver.
Sender.
No, now it is the receiver. It is going to receive the information from device A. Am I right?
Okay, ma'am.
First, it has to get the message good morning. Then only after receiving the good morning message, then only it can transmit to the next intermediate node. Am I right? So, until it receives the good morning message, it acts as the receiver. Once if it receives the good morning message, it become the sender to transmit to the next intermediate node. Am I right or not? Are you able to follow, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So now the intermediate node, I told you that the receiver starts the transmission from lower layer to upper layer. Now good morning message is available in which layer of the intermediate node? Which layer?
Ma'am, can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Now the good morning message will be transmitted from device A to the intermediate node. Which layer contains the information good morning? Which layer of the intermediate node? Huh?
First of all, from the application layer, it goes to the data layer.
No, no. Not from the application layer, from the physical layer of the intermediate node. Because the
Ma'am,
physical,
when we
yes,
are sending
Karthikeyan.
only, the information will be passing through the physical layer, ma'am. Hello?
You misunderstood the concept, Karthikeyan. From device A, from the topmost layer, seventh layer, the information will be transmitted to the lower layer. Now the information is available with the physical layer of the sender. Am I right?
Okay, okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now from the physical layer of device A, the message good morning will be transmitted to the physical layer of the intermediate node. Yeah. Now the physical layer of the intermediate node should transmit the good morning message to the application layer of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So from look at the diagram, look at the cursor properly. So now good morning message is available with the physical layer of the intermediate node. Okay. So from physical layer to data link layer, the good morning message will be transmitted. Then from data link layer to network layer. Then from network layer to transport layer. Then to the session layer, presentation layer, application layer. Okay. Now the good morning message reaches the application layer of the first intermediate node. Am I right? Am I right or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Now the intermediate node becomes the sender. Since it receives fully, it becomes the sender. It is ready to transmit to the next node. Okay, so similarly, the information will be transmitted from device A to device B through the intermediate nodes. At last, the information will be transmitted from the last intermediate node to device B through the physical layer. Okay, so again device B transmits the message good morning from the physical layer to data link to network to transport to session to presentation and then to the application layer. Understood or not? This is how the information will be transmitted through all the 7 layers of the device. Understood? So this is the OSI layered architecture. So you have to that is, if you want, if you get confusion which layer will be after the physical layer, you can remember this mnemonic. Please do not touch Steve's pet alligator. So that is the first letter of this mnemonic represents each layer. Please. P means physical. Do, data link. Not, network. Then Steve, session. Pet, presentation. Alligator, application. So if you remember the mnemonic, please do not touch Steve's pet alligator, then it will be easy for you to remember all the 7 layers: physical, data link, network, session, presentation, and application layer. Understood how to remember the 7 layers? So try
Yes,
to
ma'am.
remember the mnemonic for this. Okay. So first we have discussed what is layered architecture and how the OSI reference model have the layered architecture. So the next you need to know what is peer-to-peer process. What do you mean by peer? Suppose you are sitting in the first row. Okay. So in the first row, 4 people are sitting. So you are sitting first. Next to you, one more student is sitting. So who's peer to you? The next person who's sitting nearby you is the peer person. Understood or not? Peer means next. So what is peer to peer process? Look at the diagram here. For the physical layer, data link layer is the peer. So physical layer transmits to the data link layer. Look at this diagram. So first layer is the physical layer. Which is the peer layer for physical layer? Data link layer is the peer layer for physical layer. Understood? So which is the peer layer for data link layer? Network layer.
Network.
Yes, network. For network, transport will be the peer layer. For transport, session will be the peer layer. Then for session, presentation layer will be the peer layer. Then for presentation layer, application layer will be the peer layer. So peer-to-peer communication means each layer will be communicated with its nearby layer. That is called peer-to-peer communication. Understood or not? What is peer-to-peer process? So within a single machine, suppose in your system itself, you want to transmit the information from the keyboard to the CPU. Okay, so that is also one kind of transmission. No, you are typing through the keyboard. Hello, you are typing. Okay, otherwise you are typing your mark and you want to get the total marks, and you want to find out average. So you are typing all the data through the keyboard, and the keyboard tries to communicate with the CPU, and from the CPU the result will be transmitted to the monitor. So there will be the transmission from your keyboard to the CPU, then from CPU to the monitor. There will be the data transmission. So how the data transmission occurs? In your single system itself, the data will be communicated among all the 7 layers. Okay, so each layer will communicate with its nearby layer through the peer-to-peer process. For example, layer 3 uses the services provided by layer 2. What is layer 2? Data link layer is the layer 2 and network layer is layer 3. So layer 3 gets the service provided by layer 2 and provide the service to layer 4. Understood or not? Physical layer transmits the information to data link layer. Am I right? So data link layer receives the information from physical layer and transmits to network layer. So data link layer is communicating with physical layer as well as to the network layer. So who are the peer layer to data link layer? Physical and network are the peer for data link layer. Similarly, for data link layer, who are the peer? Sorry, for the network layer, who are the peer? Data link and transport. Okay, so except physical layer as well as application layer, all the layers are having two peers. Understood or not? Okay, so presentation layer, for presentation layer, who are the peer layers?
Session and
Session and
application.
application. Very good. For network layer, who are the peer layers? Data link and
Data link and
transport.
transport.
Yes. For transport layer, network and session are
Network and
the
session.
network and session are the peer layers. So that is called as peer-to-peer process. Okay. So each layer gets the service from its nearby layer and provide the service to the upper layer. Okay. So this is called as peer-to-peer process. Understood? So the same thing is given here. At the physical layer, communication will be direct because physical layer will be communicated with its one more physical layer of its nearby host, nearby system. Okay. So machine A sends the stream of bits to machine B. So already we have discussed about this. So no need to discuss about the slide again. So two things we have discussed so far. One is the layered architecture and another one is the peer-to-peer service. Okay. So what is layered architecture? Each system will be having 7 layers and all the 7 layers are communicated together. Okay. So then peer-to-peer service means each layer will be getting the service from one layer and providing the service to one more layer. That is called peer-to-peer service. Okay. So the third one is interface between layers. So what do you mean by interface? Suppose you want to hand over the thing to your friend. How will you give the book to your friend? You need some connection. Am I right? So with the help of your hand, you are giving your book to your friend. So similarly, for physical layer and for data link layer, something should be there for connecting those two. If it has some connection, then only it is possible to transmit the information. Am I right or not? Look at this. All the 7 layers are there. Physical layer want to communicate with data link layer. Okay. In between physical layer and data link layer, something is there. What is that? Some blue color box I have drawn. Can you able to see that?
Yes, ma'am.
That is called connection. That is nothing but the interface. So what do you mean by interface? It's a connection which connects both the layers. So each layer will be communicated with its higher layer through the interface only, through some connection only. Each layer will be communicated with each other. That is called interface. So passing the data and network information through the layers is called as interface. Okay, so interface is nothing but the connection between pair of adjacent layers. Through the interface only, any layer can communicate with its next layer. Understood? So that is called as interface between layers. Okay, so do you have any doubt up to this?
No, ma'am.
Others? So
No, ma'am.
if you understand the things properly, then only it will be easy for you to understand the
Ma'am,
remaining
some
things.
of them haven't joined the Google Classroom, ma'am.
Yes, ma. Yesterday I have given you the assignment as well. I have shared you the assignment questions and syllabus as well as PPTs. Except the OSI reference model, I have shared you the remaining PPTs. OSI reference model is the last topic of your Unit 1. So after completing this, I will share you this PPT also. So the persons see who are all joining and who are all submitting your assignment at the right time, you will get full marks for your assignment. The remaining persons who are all not joining, you will not get your assignment marks. In the Google Classroom itself, the marks will be visible. Okay. So if you do not join the class, you will not get your internal marks. You will not get full marks for your assignment. So keep it in your mind and try to join today itself. And I have given you the due date also for the assignment. So I hope somebody did not notice it. So the due date for submitting your assignment will be 20th of August. Okay, 1 week you have time. So try to complete 2 marks question within 2 days. Then the remaining days, the remaining 8 marks and 16 marks, try to complete. Okay. So keep the PPT as a tool, but notes you have to write. For each and every question, you should know how to write the answer for that. Utilize the PPT for getting the answer, but you have to write as a paragraph in your for each and every question in your assignment. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma. If you have any doubt up to this, you can ask me. So tomorrow I will tell you about the organization of layer and the function of each layers. Wait a minute. So if you do not understand, somebody ask me in Tamil, who's that? I will explain you now.